The single most important behavior of successful salespeople is that they ask questions. Every time you approach a situation in any walk of life, you bring assumptions to bear that limit your ability to see new solutions. Every time you meet a client, meet a prospect, every time you walk into a new building, you make assumptions. And the danger is you assume you understand what the client's problems are, and then you assume the solutions that are appropriate there. But that's dangerous. And what great salespeople do is they ask questions and they keep asking questions. There was a study done in the USA which compared good quality salespeople with really outstanding salespeople. And what they found was that the good people, the good salespeople, they would ask some questions. They would uncover a need. Once they'd uncovered a need, they would then introduce their solution. They would point out the benefits of their solution, and they would ask for the business. They would close. And that's quite a good plan. It's quite a good approach. Question, uncover needs, show solutions, show benefits, ask for business. But they compared that with what the really outstanding salespeople did. And they did something a little bit different. They asked questions, they uncovered a need, and then they kept asking questions. They built the value of the need. How serious would this be if this happened to you, Mr. Prospect? What would the consequences be? How serious is this problem to you? What's the worst that could happen? They built up the size of the problem in the client's mind. They understood it more deeply, both in their understanding and their client's understanding. Then when they introduced their solution, they introduced the benefits, the value was so much greater and their close rate was higher. So it's by asking very basic questions that we can understand that and then probing deeper. Eric Schmidt is the CEO of Google. And he said recently, we run this company on questions, not answers. He understands that all the time they have to be asking questions and encouraging everybody in the business to ask questions. So it's a skill that's needed at all levels in the business, at managerial levels, at leadership levels, and certainly in the sales team. So when you go out tomorrow, start by asking very basic questions. And of course, there's no point in asking the questions if you don't listen carefully to the answers. There are many salespeople who ask great questions and then charge ahead without listening carefully to what the prospect or the customer has said. So ask basic questions. Start with very broad, open questions. What sort of problems are you facing? What are the most serious issues? What are your top priorities right now? Broadly about the prospect's whole business area, not just on the part that affects your product or service. Try and understand the total context in which the customer operates. And then you narrow down gradually. You home in on the areas, particularly the problems where you've got a solution which will help that prospect or that customer. And that's where you ask the more specific questions, the closed questions. What would it cost here? What's the time scale? When are you going to make a decision? Things like that. So start with open questions, very broad questions about the whole business. Find out the areas of pain, the areas of need. Narrow down into those and then ask the very specific questions. But ask a lot of questions. And there's an old saying, don't tell when you can ask. So keep asking questions right the way through. Instead of telling the customer something, put everything in the form of a question. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And that will increase your sales success.